Hi guys, Andrea Mills here. Today I'm going to show you how very easy it is to make your own ointments. By the way, you might notice I have a head cold. Anyways, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a little bump on my wrist, and I was doing some research to find out what the heck that thing is, and I think it's a ganglion cyst. So I was looking on Earth Clinic to see what people do for ganglion cysts, and one of the biggest things was to smash it with a really heavy book, which I'm considering doing, but then other people said that frankincense essential oil will also get rid of them. So I ordered some frankincense oil, and I tried it a couple of times putting the drops on there, but it was very messy, and I thought, you know what, I could make an ointment out of it, and I'll show you guys how to do that. You only need 3 ingredients to make an ointment. You need oil, you need beeswax, and you need essential oils. My basic recipe is to use 1 cup of oil with 1 ounce of beeswax pastilles. That's 1 ounce by weight, so that's about 3 tablespoons if you're measuring them out. I put those in a small pan on the stove over very low heat, and I warm it and stir it until all the beeswax is melted. Then I put in 50 drops of essential oil. Pour it into my container, and then just let it sit until it cools. Literally all there is to making an ointment. But now that you've seen how I do it, I want to make sure that you don't think that's the only way that it can be done. The first thing is that you just saw me use coconut oil, but I want you to take 15 seconds to think of any other oils that you might have at your house that you could use. So let's see what you came up with. Yes, you can use olive oil. Yes, you can use vegetable oil. Yes, you could use any of the oils that you might have on hand, like a wheat germ oil, jojoba oil, or even MCT oil. You could use castor oil. You could use pumpkin seed oil. You could probably even use motor oil, although I've never heard of anybody wanting to do such a thing. But any oil literally can be turned into an ointment. Each oil has its own medicinal properties, so you might want to find out about different ones if you want to experiment, but use whatever you have, really. There are a few substitutes for beeswax, but they're not really going to be any easier to get than beeswax, so I'm going to just say stick with beeswax. You can get it in bars or pastilles. I like the pastilles because they're just a lot easier to work with. They're already in small little bits, so you don't have to like grate them or do anything. You can just measure them out and put them in the ointment. Let's talk about alternatives to essential oils. The other alternative is to use actual herbs, and if you're going to make an ointment with herbs, you follow the same basic steps, except for before you do anything, you're going to make an herb infused oil. To do that, you're going to take your herbs, whether that's dried leaves or roots or whatever it is, or you can use fresh plant matter. You're going to put those in your pan. Probably a double boiler would be good, or use maybe a jar inside of a pan of water or something, so that you're going to keep the heat very low. I sometimes use my mini crock pot and just keep the lid off so that it doesn't get very hot, because you don't want to ruin all the medicinal benefits of the herbs by getting them heating them up really high. But you put your herbs in whatever you're going to warm it with, then you put the oil in. There's no set ratio, just keep in mind that the herbs are going to absorb some oil, so you're going to want to have more to start with than what you want for your end product. So if you're wanting to end up with a cup of oil, you might start with like a 1.25 cups or a 1.5 cups with your herbs. And you're going to want to have plenty of herbs in there. Maybe imagine if it was a jar, you're going to want it like half full with herbs and then completely full with oil, kind of that sort of a ratio. Warm the oil and the herbs for anywhere from a couple of hours to maybe 24 hours. the oil should actually change color and take on some of the color of the herbs. The herbs themselves will kind of take on the consistency of something that's been fried because they're going to absorb oil, so they're going to be kind of crunchy. And when your oil is taking on the color and your herbs are kind of crunchy, you'll know that it's done. So some things happen pretty quickly, some herbs do, some take a lot longer. Then you'll take your oil and strain out the herbs and then carry on with the same process that we use with the essential oil ointment. You can even do a combination and do an herb infused oil with essential oils added at the end, depending on what you want to do. You can do a cold method of infusing oil, which is the same exact thing. You'll just take a jar, fill it with about half full of your herbs, whether that's dried or fresh plants, fill the jar with oil, and then you'll let it sit for at least a month. And whenever you think about it, you can give it a shake, but that's another way to do it. It just takes a lot longer. You can add more drops of essential oil than I did. That's just like the basic, the standard amount, but you can go twice or 3 times as much or even less, depending on how strong you want to make it. And you can use lots of different storage containers to pour it into once you're done. I showed you my little squeeze bottle here that I used. I also made one in a tin. This is a little container that I got from Amazon that would work if you just want like a little purse size one. There's dark glass jars like that you can put it in. We also have smaller of the tins. This is a different size. They even have little tiny ones like that. And there's lots of different sizes of these plastic containers. I sometimes just reuse food containers. You can use empty jars or whatever you have around to put your ointment in. I'm going to share with you a few of the different ointments that I've made myself and to give you some ideas. I just showed you how I made the frankincense. I have not used it yet, so we'll see how it goes. I will show you. Let's see what it looks like when it squirts out here. Hopefully you can see it. I'll squirt there. There's my ointment. Or this one. You can see it's nice and firm there. You can just rub a little bit off. Now I got ointment on my hands and I won't. Here, I'll rub it right there on my cyst. We'll get started. Okay, so I have made one ointment that I haven't used yet, but the person who did use it wanted to French kiss me, and it wasn't my husband, so it worked really well. It was made with eucalyptus oil and tea tree oil, and I had read about those oils in the Samaritan Ministries newsletter and that they were really good for fighting things like the MRSA bacteria. Is that a bacteria? Anyways, when I was reading about it, I thought, well, that sounds like a good thing to have on hand. So I made up a batch of ointment. I used, actually, I think I did 100 drops of each oil in it. So it was like a cup of oil and 100 drops of the eucalyptus and 100 of the tea tree oil. The next week, Tom's friend was complaining that he has had chronic cellulitis in his legs, and he'd been to the doctor so many times and got so many different prescription creams and nothing was working, and he couldn't sleep and he was so uncomfortable. So Tom, even though he teases me about all my herbal stuff, he volunteered me to help him. So I sent over that jar of ointment that I just made with the tea tree and the eucalyptus, and then I sent over another jar of the bone flushing cartilage, I think is what Dr. Christopher calls it, and it's a whole list of herbs, and we said to go ahead and try that and see what happens. The next week he told Tom that he loved me and he wanted to kiss me with tongue because he'd not felt that good in a very long time. That stuff really, like, it cleared up his problems, and he was so happy. And I never have made another batch, so I'm gonna have to do that. Another one, you probably have noticed that I have a head cold, and there's one going through the family right now, so another one that I like to have on hand is with eucalyptus and peppermint. And then when the kids are real stuffy in their noses, we'll just rub it around on their nose, and it helps open up their passages and make them be able to breathe easier. Another ointment that I like to have is made with plantain, and this is not an essential oil. This one's made with the herb. I use dried plantain leaf, and so I make the herbal infusion and then add the beeswax at the end, warm it up and add the beeswax to make an ointment out of it. Plantain is really great for drawing. It's like a drawing salve, so it works awesome on bug bites for getting the itch and the stuff out. And we've actually used plantain, just actual leaf that we had outside, when we've been stung by wasps. Twice, I think, we've had to do that, and it's like amazing how fast it takes the sting out and takes the pain away. My friend actually got a sliver in her finger, and like 2 days later she had red streaks going up her arm from the sliver, so we used plantain on that and it cleared it up overnight, which was great. You can even make an ointment without anything in it, just the oil and the beeswax if that was something that you were looking for. For instance, castor oil is good for helping hair to grow. So a lot of people like to massage it, like when you are losing hair for whatever reason, you can massage it into your scalp. I've seen some before and after pictures. It does really well for some people, but it's really gunky and messy to work with. So you could actually just make an ointment of just warming up the castor oil with the beeswax to make it into an ointment, so it's a lot easier to like control and to massage into your scalp. So if you're already into essential oils and you have some of your favorites, making them into an ointment is a really great way to apply them in a very non-messy way. If you're not into essential oils or herbs, I encourage you to get some of those books I was talking about, or just start doing some research and find out what you want to make it out of. And now you know how easy it is really to make your own ointments, and way cheaper than having to buy them. Now, if you're interested in starting a notebook or something to keep track of the things that you've tried or ideas that you have, I made a little sheet here that I'm going to put on my blog that you can print out if you want. It's got my basic recipe. That's 1 cup of oil, 1 ounce by weight of beeswax, and 50 drops of essential oil. But remember, that's just a guide. You can totally do it with more oil, essential oil if you want, or less. And if you get done and your ointment's too hard, just melt it and add a little more oil. If it's too soft, just melt it again and add a little bit more beeswax. So it's just, this is definitely just a guide, not a rule. But then there's a place here to write down anything that you want to try or have tried, like your little own recipes. As you come across things, you can use ones I just shared with you today and write those on there. So that's on my blog as a free printable. A lot of the containers I showed you were from Mountain Rose Herbs, but I got some of them from Amazon. Most of my essential oils came from the same 2 places. Also, some of them were from Azure Standard, but you know, they all kind of carry the same brands. I have started a page on Facebook, and if you can find that, I don't know if I can leave a link there to that or not. We'll see. But anyways, if you can find that page, I'm going to put a picture there of my frankincense ointment. And I really hope that you guys will come and leave a comment there with pictures of your own ointments that you make, and tell us what you use to make your ointment, so that I can see what you guys have come up with and maybe give some good ideas for other people. So maybe leave a picture and what you use to make it, and maybe what you are planning to use it for. So that would be really fun to share all that stuff with each other. So that's how you make an ointment. Super easy. I really hope you guys will try it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and we will be having some more herb videos coming up soon, and I've got some homeschool vlogs in the work too. So I will see you guys again very soon.